Good afternoon. Welcome to Professor Speaks. I'm Alex Hernandez. Alongside me is Dr. Craig Stern of Pharma Pharmaceutical Consultants and ProData Analytics. Today we're going to be talking about a new bill that was introduced into Congress titled Improving Access to Affordable Prescription Drugs. This bill was created to help Americans gain access to prescription drugs at a more affordable price. Even those with health insurance coverage are struggling to meet the out-of-pocket costs, and critical and life-saving drugs are continuing to increase in price. So as it stands right now, drug manufacturers don't have to be transparent in the cost of making a drug. The bill would require companies to disclose how much is spent in the manufacturing, research and development, marketing, distribution, and government subsidies. Dr. Stern, if this bill passes, drug companies must provide a cost accounting in the making of a drug to justify the price of the drug. How big of a difference could this make in the actual price of the drug?
Well, that's really questionable. Part of this has to deal with the fact that there's politics involved, but if we remove all the political issues, there's several things that have to be addressed. One is that in general, drug companies have not had to do cost accounting of their drugs. And so as a result of that, it is unclear as to, for every dollar, how much of that is spent on research and development, how much of that is spent on the development of the product outside of the molecule once it's been made, how much of that has to do with marketing, how much of that has to deal with the distribution of the drug. And manufacturers have historically said that the price includes the cost of all the losers, the products that they tried that didn't make it. But nobody knows what piece of that dollar each of those represent. Now, the other complication to this is that many of these drugs are not made or researched in the United States. Many of these products are developed in other countries. They're cross-licensed or they're purchased to be sold in the United States. Further, there are products that are developed or made in government laboratories. And so the question then is, are they giving appropriate dues to the federal government for the government having identified and developed the drug and what they're trying? So it's not just a one-time thing, it's not a one-trick pony, there's multiple issues involved. At the end of the day, it's absolutely imperative that there be some control on the cost of drugs, or else they become so expensive that nobody can afford them. But the other part of this is that it has historically been that a hospital cost has been the most expensive piece of healthcare. Now, drugs are either equal to or greater than the cost of a hospital admit, or even an emergency room admit, because they are multiple times, you're giving them multiple occasions, and in some cases, you may be giving it to a person for the rest of their life. So it's significantly greater. It's absolutely imperative that this be done, but we can't be so naive as to think that one cure fixes all. It's too complicated.
Right. One of the things you mentioned was, well, that we both mentioned, was getting the cost accounting for how much to make a drug. Getting back to drug manufacturing. If they have to be more transparent, of course, not everybody's going to agree with the price of the drug or spreading the cost out between the winners and the losers who go past the FDA. But once everything is known as far as the background cost, could this actually hinder future development of new drugs?
Well, that's part of the argument. And actually, this whole issue has brought up a war that's been going on. And the war is the pharmaceutical manufacturers say that they are pricing the drug at a given realistic price, but they have to pass off rebates and other discounts to pharmacy benefit managers and potentially the health plans, and they then increase the cost of the drug so that the end user, the patient, is paying for not only what the pharmaceutical company attributed to the list price, but also what the PBM attributed, and other entities have attributed. The war is that this process has been going on for a long time and nobody exposed it. Now that everybody's looking at lowering the cost, there's this constant finger pointing in different directions as to who's responsible for what. However, at the end of the day, it's imperative that transparency includes all stakeholders, so that the pharmaceutical industry has cost accounting of what they're doing, the PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, have cost accounting, health plans have cost accounting, pharmacies have cost accounting, physicians have cost accounting, so that all of these people who are contributing to the cost, in fact, have a piece of what's going on, and then there can be a rightful discussion about what goes on. But if we focus on just one, cost will be shifted to another entity.
Right.
In effect, there won't be the kind of cost. And finally, which is terribly important, somebody may take a very expensive drug, just for argument's sake. Let's say you have an $85,000 drug, and you negotiate it so that the cost of the drug goes down to $50,000.
Right.
Well, the problem then is it may still not be affordable. You have discounted the price, that's a good thing, no argument.
Right.
But it still may not be affordable. When we look at the average income in the United States, the average income in the United States is about $50,000 a year. If you tell them that the drug is going to cost $50,000, then in fact there's no opening for them to be able to do it. So lowering costs is absolutely crucial, but then trying to figure out how you're going to make it affordable is a totally different story.
Right. Right. You mentioned negotiation. Other areas that this bill tackles, other than just negotiating prices, is accelerating cost-lowering generic competition. Also capping out-of-pocket drug costs in health insurance plans. So, and also allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. It is public knowledge that the VA can negotiate with drug companies with drug companies on prescription drugs. But Medicare, the largest buyer of prescription drugs in the world, does not. Why is that?
Well, that once again is politics. There has been a significant amount of politics that have limited Medicare's ability to negotiate directly with the manufacturer. That doesn't take away the fact that we have this system where multiple people are contributing to the cost of the drug. It's not a matter of trying to point the finger that one is important, one is less important, or otherwise. It's just the fact that if you have a balloon and you press on Pharma, then the cost is going to show up in other areas. And so Medicare is the largest cost. One would think intuitively that they would be negotiating. But the argument from the Pharmacy Benefit Management Group is that, no, they're already doing that job, so it's unnecessary for Medicare to be doing that job. Well, this is basic to the business model of PBM. It's basic, in some cases, to the business model of health plans that have internal PBM. It's basic to the business model of pharma. And so everybody is being attacked at their basic business model as to how they do it. Clearly, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to shake some people up, and potentially others will be harmed or hurt by that. But at the end of the day, the patient has to be able to identify that they can afford this drug. If you put a limit on it, if the health plan puts a limit on it, you have another problem, and that is that increases the overall cost of premium to the patient. There's been a whole argument in Congress about trying to control that cost, and that you don't want to have huge premiums. And yet this kind of a message, if you did it, would be to increase the premiums of what goes on in health plans. So once again, this is a multifactorial problem, and you have to attack it as a multifactorial problem. It's not a matter of that you don't want to lower the cost. That's everybody, I think, agrees with that. The real issue is how do you go about it, and because several different groups have a different idea about it, you have to figure out how you're going to get them all involved.
Sorry to bring politics back into this, but Senator Al Franken did bring this bill into Congress, and he mentioned the pay-for-delay practice, which pay-for-delay is when a brand name manufacturer is paying off generic drug manufacturers, right, to stay off the market, thus decreasing competition. If pay for delay becomes illegal, which this bill wants to do, what could this mean for pharmacies, PBMs, and the consumer?
Well, certainly it could help. There's no question about that. The idea, the underall assumption is brands are expensive, generics are cheaper. Now, it's true that generics are in general cheaper than the brands, that there's about a 10 to 15% discount in the first 6 months of a standard prescription that goes on in a discount. And then after 6 months, then effectively you get into discounts that are in the 70% range, sometimes in the 80% range. In the biosimilars that are coming out for the specialty drugs, in Europe, the one that has had the most experience with this over several years, the United States is just new into this process. They've seen about a 10 to 15% drop, but they haven't seen a continued drop in discounts. So there is a drop in discounts. At the end of the day, all of them have to address the fact that even if there's a discount, generics today of drugs that have just gone off patent are more expensive than the generics of 10 years ago, or even longer, because those particular drugs were more expensive as brands, and you're looking at discounts off of what they were as a brand price versus discounts off of something that cost pennies years ago, and now it's presumably going to cost pennies. What we really have to focus on is we start with the patient and we ask what's affordable. They're dealing with the doctor. The doctor is prescribing drugs, frequently same drugs, the newest drugs to all patients. It's absolutely imperative that they begin to look at that and to say the lower cost patients, the ones that have less ability to pay, or even many of those that can be easily controlled, can be controlled for pennies a day with what goes on. Second is the pharmacies, what kind of a profit that they expect to make and what everyone is expecting there. Then the distribution mechanism and what that particular part of the dollar costs. Then to the issue with regard to negotiating in PBMs and health plans and how much they're keeping in the process. And then to the pharmaceutical company. It is easy to say the pharmaceutical companies are wrong, and a good deal of this has to deal with really egregious price increases that were unwarranted. But at the also, I can lower their costs, but if manufacturers are still, if physicians are still prescribing the higher cost product, then cost is still high. If pharmacies are not controlling the process because they're looking to the doctors to do it, costs remain high. If distributors are taking whatever percentage that they are, and then PBMs are taking whatever percentage, this is not against anybody's business model. It's that everybody has contributed their cost to that dollar. Until everybody knows what their costs are, then there can be a negotiation of what goes on. Everyone has to be part of this. It's not a one-time thing where you can just look at the pyramid, kill the pharmaceutical manufacturer process, and then everything goes away.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Stern. I think that covers the whole topic. If you have any more questions, please feel free to comment, leave a message. Also, don't forget to visit our RxInfoX page. You can find it on ProPharmaConsultants.com. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll have a new video every Wednesday at noon. Thank you very much. Have a great day.